Welcome to Starting Points, where one thing leads to another. The last time I shared this book with you by Jean Fritz. It's called Around the World in 100 Years, from Henry the Navigator to Magellan. And I'd like to share a little something from Henry the Navigator. In 1441, Anthem Goncalves delivered to Prince Henry some gold dust, a shield of ox hide, ostrich eggs, and 10 Africans. Prince Henry was the first Christian prince to eat an ostrich egg, and he declared that it was delicious. The people of Portugal, however, were more interested in those Africans. There was a severe labor shortage in Portugal, and Africans, if they could be imported as slaves, the money Prince Henry was spending might not be wasted after all. Before long, licenses were granted to Henry to send ships to Africa specifically to bring back slaves. On one of the first trips, 165 men, women, and children were brought back. Another fleet returned with 235 natives. This was not done peacefully. Force was the only way to do it. But if Henry regretted this, he probably comforted himself that he was saving souls by having the natives baptized. But the natives felt no comfort. As far as they were concerned, the arrival of the Europeans was bad news. Well, the story continues with various explorers in this book, and Jean Fritz did not include a very interesting fleet of discovery. In fact, I hadn't ever heard about it until more recently, and so perhaps when she was writing that book, she hadn't heard about it yet either. But this pertains to a fleet that was formed a little bit before Henry the Navigator's time. In 1403, so about 20 years before. It's based on an actual journeys made by a fleet of advanced wooden ships carrying 28,000 people that traveled as far as Australia and the tip of Africa some 600 years ago, which should put it back in the time just before Henry the Eighth. Henry the Navigator. Interesting how we know certain characters stand out in our mind. And, you know, if you were to go down a street and ask people, give me a name of an explorer, they might not give you Cook's name. They might give you an early explorer, if you said it that way. They might not give you Cook, but they might give you Columbus. So we'll have a look at that. But I just wanted to mention, I've read this book and really found it fascinating. And I know there are some other books out which I haven't read about this particular fleet that was put together by Zen He. And he was the fleet's powerful admiral. It's because other powerful government officials opposed him. There was conspirators. They ran into high-stakes espionage and armada of pirates. It was one adventure after the other. Now, Jean Fritz wrote about Christopher Columbus. Where do you think you're going, Christopher Columbus? and it's a detailed account, and I'll say more about some of her other historical books soon. Who else wrote about? Well, Columbus wrote a journal on his first voyage. Captains were requested or required to keep a log of events of the day. Usually it was pretty straightforward, and I came across, it was about this thick, a book of that journal, been translated into English, and I thought maybe I had a book of it, but I may have gotten it from the library. But it was very interesting to read. And this is a couple here, Peter and Connie Roop, R-O-O-P, used a journal of his and have edited it down to this size a book, and covering that first voyage. Now, I like history. I enjoy reading history. But I've come to feel that I'm not always sure that what I'm reading is the truth. The person, especially if it's writing from a journal like this, I would think, and if they had any trouble with the Spaniards who were financing this trip, you're going to want to show yourself in a good light. You might downplay the grumbles of men. You might, or if there were, that you would show yourself as handling it skillfully. That sort of thing. In fact, in this, there's one case right at the end. There was going to be a prize given by the King of Spain to the first person that sighted land. Well, now, if the world is in fact round, the place to see it first is certainly going to be up in the crow's nest, because you will catch a view of things before someone on land will be able to see it. They'll have to get closer before they can see that land. And a man does call out to in the morning to everybody, "Land ahoy!" You know, what a thing to hear after so many days of sailing. And when they get back and the man comes to claim his prize, Columbus says, "No, I saw it first. I saw it the night before. I saw a fire." Now, if he saw it the night before in a fire, and he was on deck, yeah. Well, anyway, see what I mean. Perio Ventura has written a number of neat books, sometimes just on musicians or artists or historical events. And he's got a neat way of drawing, and this is Christopher Columbus, Ventura. And one of the things that he talks about at the end of the book here is the world of new plants, potato, beans, corn, peanuts, papaya, cacao bean, pineapple, pepper, strawberry, tomato, avocado. Well, 4 voyages Columbus went on. And on the first voyage, this is called Diego Columbus, Adventures on the High Seas by Marnie McGee, M.C., capital G-E-E. I Sailed with Columbus. Miriam Sheelan, first voyage. Now, I sailed with Columbus, Susan Martin, first voyage. One thing, when you look at more than one source, you might get a slightly different picture. You know, even the writer or the editor might have a slant that they want to take, and they might have omitted something, or they might have made more of something else, and so it's hard to know. The high voyage, the final crossing, fourth voyage, I don't have anything on the second or the third, of Christopher Columbus, which included his son of Columbus on that voyage, by Hans Baumann, B-A-U-M-A-N-N. I better spell Olga's last name, L-I-T-O-W-I-N, Lotowinski, or Sky, S-K-Y. And the last book is by Michael Doris, and it doesn't deal with the Europeans other than they're seen in the distance. And children come back to report what they've seen, and they're talking about the arrival of this ship and things. It's very, very nicely handled, and he's written other books, Michael has. Well, thanks for joining me on this little voyage of discovery. Until next time, bye for now.